you decided to join me on today's episode of Winter Waterfalls in the Owentown, Greybury area. I decided to bring you to a municipally maintained waterfall. This is called the Mill Dam. Some people call it the fish ladder. The fish, when they're spawning, come here and actually leap up this sequence of, we call them stairs. They're not really stairs. They're just sequences of ladder, I guess, to go upstream up into that park that I took you to the other day and where they spawn and breed. It's not quite as cold today as it's been, but it's another beautiful day, so I just wanted to tour you around a little bit more. Owen Sound has many beautiful waterfalls and rivers and places to see, so I thought I might as well show you where I live. And I'm so glad you joined in, and I hope you tune in every day, and I'll take you on a little tour as the seasons progress, and as a kind of an introduction to our daily bread reading of the Word. It's so nice, again, to be outside and not have to worry about stepping on mine bombs and roadside bombs and people sneaking through the woods to shoot me. I love Canada. I love Ontario. I love Owen Sound. It's a beautiful place to live. I'm so blessed that God planted me here. And I'm so glad that you joined in, and I hope you're enjoying the daily reading and the little tour I'm taking you on of Winter Waterfalls. Such a great day to be outside. My girls want to go outside and inside and inside and outside. And so, today, we're actually going to read from Exodus chapter 16 and 17. And it's called Manna and Quail, which is kind of like meat and bread from God's style. Later on, speaking of bread, I'm going to show you how to make unleavened bread. We noticed that God made a big deal about them having unleavened bread and no yeast, especially when they were doing the Passover feast, and they weren't even to have yeast in their house. So I thought, just for variety, I'm making a nice supper after I shower and change, and I'll make unleavened bread, and I'll give you the recipe. I'll post it. Okay, here we go, chapter 16. Then they left Elim and journeyed into the Sin desert between Elim and Mount Sinai. And they arrived there a month after leaving Egypt. Oh, Sin desert. I'm not sure I want to be there. There too, the whole community of Israel spoke bitterly against Moses and Aaron. Oh, wish we were back in Egypt, they moaned. It would have been better if the Lord had killed us there. At least there would have been plenty to eat. But now you have brought us into the desert to starve to death. Then the Lord said to Moses, Look, I'm going to rain down food from heaven for you. People can go out each day and pick up much food as they need for that day. I will test them in this to see whether they will follow my instructions. Then tell them to pick up twice as much as usual on the 6th day of each week. When Moses and Aaron called a meeting of all the people of Israel and told them, In the evening you will realize that it was the Lord who brought you out of the land of Egypt. In the morning you will see the glorious presence of the Lord. He has heard your complaining, which is against the Lord and not against us. The Lord will give you meat to eat in the evening and bread in the morning, for he has heard all of your complaining against him. Yes, your complaints are against the Lord, not against us. Then Moses said to Aaron, Say this to the entire community of Israel. Come into the Lord's presence and hear his reply to your complaints. And as Aaron spoke to the people, they looked out towards the desert. Within the guiding cloud, they could see the awesome glory of the Lord. They could see the glory of the Lord in that cloud. That's really an amazing thought. And the Lord said to Moses, I have heard the people complaining. Now tell them, in the evening you will have meat to eat, and in the morning you will be filled with bread. Then you will know that I am the Lord your God. That evening vast numbers of quail arrived and covered the camp. The next morning the desert all around the camp was wet with dew. And when the dew disappeared later in the morning, then flakes white like frost covered the ground. The Israelites were puzzled when they saw it. What is this? They asked, and Moses told them, It is food the Lord has given you. The Lord says that each household should gather as much as needed. Pick up 2 quarts for each person. So the people of Israel went out and gathered this food, some getting more and some getting less. By gathering 2 quarts for each person, everyone had just enough. Those who gathered a lot had nothing left over, and those who gathered only a little had nothing left. Had enough, pardon me. Each family had just what it needed. I'm reading out of a smaller print Bible because Eric has mine, the big one in the car. We took it to church the other day, and this one is the Living Faith Bible. So it's a little different than what we usually read. So I'm stumbling along a little bit here. Okay. Then Moses told them, "Do not keep any of it overnight." But of course, some of them did, and they didn't listen, and kept some of it until morning. By then it was full of maggots. It had a terrible smell, and Moses was very angry with them. The people gathered the food morning by morning, each family according to his need. As the sun became hot, the food they had picked up melted and disappeared. On the 6th day there was twice as much as usual on the ground. 4 quarts for each person instead of 2. The leaders of the people came and asked Moses why this had happened. He replied, "The Lord has appointed tomorrow a day of rest, a holy Sabbath to the Lord. On this day we will rest from our normal daily tasks. So bake or boil as much as you want today and set aside what's left for tomorrow." The next morning the leftover food was wholesome and good, without maggots or odor. Moses said, "This is your food for today is Sabbath to the Lord. There will be no food on the ground today. Gather food for 6 days, but on the 7th day is a Sabbath. There will be no food on the ground for you on that day." Some of the people went out anyway to gather food, even though it was the Sabbath day, but there was none to be found. "How long will these people refuse to obey my commandments and instructions?" the Lord asked Moses. "Do they not realize that I've given them the 7th day, the Sabbath, as a day of rest? That is why I gave you twice as much food on the 6th day, so there will be enough for 2 days. On the Sabbath day you must stay in your place. Do not pick up food from the ground on that day." So the people rested on the 7th day. In time, the food became known as manna. It was white, like a coriander seed, and it tasted like honey cakes. Sounds good. Then Moses gave them this commandment from the Lord: "Take 2 quarts of manna and keep it forever as a treasure memorial of the Lord's provision. By doing this, later generations will be able to see the bread that the Lord provided in the wilderness when he brought you out of Egypt." Moses said to Aaron, "Get a container and put 2 quarts of manna into it, then store it in a sacred place as a reminder for all future generations." Aaron did this, just as the Lord had commanded Moses. Then he eventually placed it for keeping in the Ark of the Covenant. So the people of Israel ate manna for 40 years, until they arrived in the land of Canaan, where there were crops to eat. The container used to measure the manna was an omer, which held about 2 quarts. There you go. Now we know what an omer is. Chapter 17 of Exodus. At the Lord's command, the people of Israel left the Sin desert and moved from place to place. Eventually they came to Rephidim, but there was no water to be found there. So once more the people grumbled and complained to Moses. "Give us water to drink," they demanded. "Quiet," Moses replied. "Why are you arguing with me, and why are you testing the Lord?" But tormented by thirst, they continued to complain. "Why did you ever take us out of Egypt? Why did you bring us here? We, our children, and our livestock will all die." Then Moses pleaded with the Lord. "What should I do with these people? They are about to stone me." The Lord said to Moses, "Take your shepherd's staff, the one you used when you struck the water of the Nile. Then call some of the leaders of Israel and walk on ahead of the people. I will meet you by the rock of Mount Sinai. Strike the rock, and water will come pouring out. Then the people will be able to drink. Moses did just as what was told him, and the Israelites looked on, and water gushed out. Moses named this place Massah, the place of testing, and Meribah, the place of arguing, because the people of Israel argued with Moses and tested the Lord by saying, "Is the Lord going to take care of us or not?" Verse number 8 is called Israel Defeats the Amalekites. While the people of Israel were still in Rephidim, the warriors of Amalek came to fight against them. And Moses commanded Joshua, "Call the Israel army and fight the army of Amalek tomorrow, and I will stand at the top of the hill with the staff of God in my hand." He says Amalek, and then they call them Amalekites. And I guess "ite" must mean people or children or something, like Israel's children were called Israelites. And there's all kinds of ites that Eric's been reading about. So these are the Amalekites. So Joshua did what, and this is verse 10. So Joshua did what Moses had commanded. He led his men out to fight the army of Amalek. Meanwhile, Moses, Aaron, and Hur went to the top of the nearby hill. And as long as Moses held up the staff with his hands, the Israelites